Today we're gonna stay in the realm of anime or go back to the realm of anime. And one of my childhood favorite shows, that being one Yu-Gi-Oh. Um, I had kind of a thought as far as like I was watching it recently and I thought about it and I was like, damn, looking back at it, we all thought, hey, I hope, such and such wins. We never really looked at the analytics of these particular battles that took place. But getting older and growing up and looking back at it, I start to realize, god damn, when we talk about main characters, Yugi was, I don't know, he was kind of a cheater, if we being honest. I mean, Heart of the Cards, okay, I don't know. I'm gonna have to challenge that one, big dog, because there's been a good bit of instances where shit that you did in those duels were nowhere near legal in Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG. So, this episode is going to be titled "The Heart of the Script" because let's be honest, Heart of the Cards is bullshit. It's all based on the script and plot armor and things of that nature. So, without further ado, sit back, grab a snack, and let's chat. Now, I don't have notes today, so I'm gonna try my best to stay on track. And also, I'm not diving deep into these particular battles. I'm gonna talk about a few that have major, whatever. I ain't gonna dive too deep into them. No. If you want in-depth analysis on these particular duels, you can look at this guy on the screen right now. His YouTube name is TGS Anime, where he actually dives deep into these particular battles, turn for turn, and analyzes everything. Again, I ain't here to do all that. If you want something more in depth, visit his channel. I'm gonna put it up one more time for those who want to see it. Go on his YouTube, subscribe to his channel, TGS Anime. I'm personally am a subscriber as well. I watch his videos very often. But like I said, y'all, let's get into it. It ain't gonna be this in-depth thing. It's just gonna be more of a jose, if we're being honest. But let's start with the very first duel. Yugi versus Kaiba in the very first episode of this particular anime. Oh, one more thing. I'm only talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters. I'm not talking about GX, 5Ds, Zexal, V Reigns, or whatever else there is out there. I'm not going into all that. I'm just talking about the one that I've actually watched. Yugi versus Kaiba, the very first duel. Now, if y'all remember, there was a move that Yugi did. Kaiba had two. It was either one or two blue eyes white dragons. I think it was two. And Yugi summoned the Swords of Revealing Light, which, if you guys aren't aware of that, it stops your opponents from attacking for 3 turns. Any monster from attacking for 3 turns. But of course, Kaiba summons another monster, and all of a sudden, it's not affected by the Swords of Revealing Light, which is stupid. Which I okay. Let me backtrack. I know this isn't something that Yugi did to cheat, but this is just I'm still gonna talk about it. Again, Swords of Revealing Light is a magic card that stops your opponents from attacking for 3 turns. It doesn't only apply to whatever monster was on the field at time of activation. It applies to each and every monster on your opponent's side, whether it was on the field already or summoned after the fact. Nothing can attack for 3 turns. So, 4 kids, whatever, I don't know. Anyway, let's move on to. Let me see. That was that one. Let's move on to Yugi versus Weevil. In that particular duel, Yugi's back was against the wall. Weevil had a great moth out. Yugi had a summon skull out. If I'm not mistaken, I believe either Weevil or Yugi, I think it was Yugi, activated some sort of mist magic card and it left the field. Now, this could be different set of rules because I know Duelist Kingdom had all kinds of crazy rules. But all of a sudden, Yugi attacks with Summon Skull and then he just pulls this fucking trick out his ass talking about, oh, since the field is damp, water conducts electricity, and all of a sudden, Summon Skull's attack power is has been raised by like 600 or 700 or whoop de woo. And I'm like, no, it kind of doesn't work that way. The only thing that increases his attack power is a field upgrade like Yami or something that increases the attack power of either fiends or dark monsters or archfiend monsters. It doesn't work like that. You can't just activate a magic card that leaves the field wet and then get a power boost from electricity. Which I okay, in real life, yes, water is a conductor for electricity, but at the same time, I don't think that should apply for a duel per se. Moving on, this is probably the one of those stupidest ones to me. When Yugi and Mako had that duel, and Yugi activated the Mystic Moon. Oh, somebody activated the moon. Yeah, Yugi activated the moon, right? Mako said that all of a sudden the moon controls the tide. So Yugi, for some fucking odd ass reason, decides to summon his giant soldier of stone and have him attack the moon. Now, when the fuck has monsters ever been able to attack a magic card or an equipped spell card? They cannot directly attack a moon. That was the weirdest thing to me. Looking back at it, I didn't care for it back then, or I didn't care about it back then. But looking back at it, how in the hell can you have a monster attack the moon of all things? Having it attack a magic card is already insane in its own. But having it attack the moon of all things, yeah, that's diabolical type shit right there. That is cheating at its highest fucking level. And of course, he won the duel. All these aforementioned duels, Yugi pretty much won. Surprise, surprise, right? Let me see. There was Yugi versus Mako. We got the other Yugi versus Kaiba one, but we're gonna get to that one in a second because boy, Taya pissed me the fuck off with that shit. Joey and let me see. Joey faced Mai and he also faced Rex. Now, this I don't really think this is cheating. I think this is just more so the rules of Duelist Kingdom being so awkward. When Joey activates his time wizard and he does the time roulette thing, always lands on the good side for some reason, even though there's four skulls and two, whatever those other symbols are, but that's the symbols that you want to get. Always seems to land on the right symbols for some reason. When it worked against my all her harpies turned old and Thousand Dragon attacked them and that okay, he won. That makes sense. Okay. What doesn't make sense to me is the duel against Rex when he used the time roulette and Red Eyes Black Dragon became a fossil and fell apart. All of a sudden, Rex loses all his life points. I didn't understand that at all. I really don't get that. I understand, okay, destroying the monster, cool. But Rex losing his life points after that, and Joey didn't even at that. And let's think about it this way: in Duelist Kingdom, there was no attack into opponents directly. It was either you attack the monster itself or you just didn't attack at all. I believe if your turn went by and you didn't have a monster on the field, then that's when you would lose. I could be wrong about that. Like I said, Duelist Kingdom rules was just all over the fucking place, and it was crazy and very fucking confusing. I'm still confused to this day about the shit that happens. Um, Let me see. Joey versus Rex. Yugi, this motherfucker here. Yugi and Ghost Kaiba. So, do y'all remember when they was dueling, right? Ghost Kaiba summoned his blue eyes, whatever, whatever. Then the real Kaiba comes in, some kind of way uploads a virus to the guy. I don't know how do you upload a virus to a hologram, but I guess whatever. We not gonna ask that many questions, but he uploaded a virus to the goddamn dragon. It wasn't gonna kick in time, so all of a sudden he just calls out Yugi's name, and then oh the Power Millennium Puzzle and whoop de woo and all this jazz and shit like this. So all of a sudden now the motherfucker got what he needs to win. But do y'all remember this one instance where Yugi said that the mystical elf was chanting some sort of spell that increased the power of some monster? I think he had his own blue eyes on his side of the field. Whatever, no, it was either blue eyes that he used that he brought back with Monster Reborn or Dark Magician, one of the. I think it was the Blue Eyes though. Mystical Health has been chanting a spell that increases the power of my monster by such and such, giving me enough power to wipe you out. So since when does Mystical Elf chant spells? Mystical Elf, if I'm not mistaken, is a normal monster with no effects. It's just there to be there. Now in Duelist of the Roses, they turned it into an effect monster, but other than that, as far as I'm concerned, Mystical Elf has always been a normal monster with no type of effects. So how the fuck can this bitch be chanting spells over here, increasing the power of other fucking monsters that probably don't even belong to Yugi? If we being honest, I don't know. That shit was crazy to me too. That motherfucker, he really did a lot of shit that I really question now. Looking back at it, I really question a lot of the shit. I question his legitimacy. I really do. Is he really the king of games, or is he just the king of cheating? If we, I don't know. Now let's get to Yugi and Panic. I ain't gonna talk too much more about Duelist Kingdom, but we actually almost through with that now. Yugi and Panic. Now this one, I wouldn't say this one was cheating. Well, no, it kind of was. It was, but it wasn't. So picture this. Panic has his yellow luster shield up. He has all of his fiend monsters on the ground. He has his castle of dark illusions floating at the top, surrounded by a flotation device, right? Yugi uses Catapult Turtle, and launches, I believe, Curse of Dragon or Guy of the Fierce Knight, one of the two, or it might have been the fusion, but it was something in that realm. Launches that particular monster at the castle, breaks the flotation device. Okay, cool, whatever. But on the other hand, he has Swords of Revealing Light on the field as well, which illuminate the darkness and apparently was holding the fucking thing up. I don't know how the hell that's even possible, but let's just pretend that it is. The Swords of Revealing Light was holding up a monster card. Yugi ends his turn. The swords go away. The castle falls down. Destroys all the monsters because they're stuck in the shield. Panic loses. Okay. I'm not even sure how that's possible. But we gonna move on from there. Now, this is the biggest instance of cheating, in my opinion, which I'm pretty sure a lot of people will probably agree with me. When Yugi dueled Kaiba with his, dueling frisbees or whatever, right outside of Pegasus's castle, Kaiba had the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon out. Yugi had the streetcar combination, polymerization, the living arrow, and Mammoth Graveyard. Use that particular card combination to fuse Mammoth Graveyard with Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. But on the other hand, an undead monster can't fuse with the living for some odd reason. So instead of fusing together, the Mammoth Graveyard takes over the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon and rots it out from the inside out. That's not even possible. That's not possible. If a monster cannot be fused in a TCG, it just will not fuse. Even in the video games, if the shit is not fusible, it just won't fuse. One monster will just knock the other one out. It's not possible to fuse an undead with the living, like Yugi tried to do, and rot the fucking living from the inside out. And then not only that, for some reason, the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon turned into three separate heads of the Blue Eyes White Dragon, which made no fucking sense to me because it's one monster. It's not three different heads with all three all three having different attack and defense points. It's one monster. But plot armor. We gonna leave it at plot armor. Yugi, you're a fucking cheater though. And Taya, I still got a fucking gripe with you. Because why in the fuck would you tell this man not to stop his attack? Because you worried about somebody who don't give a fuck about about none of y'all, if we being honest. This man only cared about rescuing Mokuba. And if he's willing to kill himself because he know he can't beat Yugi, bye. Bye. The fuck? That's on your body. You chose to kill yourself. Or you chose to stand on the edge of that building, that castle. Because you was that desperate because you couldn't beat Yugi. Now, granted, Yugi was cheating his ass off, but still, all in all, hypothetically speaking, that's a bitch move, Kaiba. That is a very, very bitch move. Moving on. Um, Duelist Kingdom was really the biggest thing, the biggest instance of the constant cheating and the back and forth and what have you. I think Battle City that it kind of strayed away from it because the rules of Battle City were a lot clearer than really anything else. But there was still some instances of questionable methods, not really full on cheating, but just questionable moves and questionable things that happen because of plot armor. Like for example, um Yugi all of a sudden when he do that mime slave, if y'all remember correctly, the mime had, he had Slife for the Sky Dragon out. He had his basically unbeatable method out and in full play. All of a sudden, no, you know what? Now that I think about it, this is also cheating. You cannot take control of a monster that you just destroyed. So let me paint this picture for y'all. You got the mime slave, right? Slifer's in the background. You got the breeding machine. No, he used the breeding machine already. You got the revival jam, and you got the jam defender trap card out. He also has other magic cards that let him draw 3 cards every time Slifer's second ability is activated. Then he has the other card. I forgot. I think it's called Infinite Cards or Infinite Hand or something like that, to where you can have as many cards in your hand as possible. Now, normally at the end of every turn, you're supposed to only have 6. So if you have more than 6 at the end of your turn, you're supposed to discard however many you need to discard to get to 6. But with this particular magic card out, he can have as many cards in his hand as he wants. And Slifer's attack and defense points are based off of how many cards you have in your hand. So, I mean, honestly, we looking at it, that Mind Slave probably should have won that duel. There's a lot of duels that Mind Slave that Yugi should have lost if we being honest. Aside from the against Kaiba on the Liquor Castle, and then he lost to Raphael in the Waking the Dragons arc. Then of course he lost to Yugi at the end of the series. And I think there was one more that I missed. In any case, yeah, we ain't gonna talk about that too much. But Yugi, he brings back his Buster Blader from the graveyard, attacks, attacks, aims for Slifer, which he knows is not gonna work, but the plan is for Revival Jam to come in. So Revival Jam comes in, he destroys it, whatever, activates brain control for Revival Jam to revive on his side of the field, and then which kicks off the never ending cycle of Revival Jam. It's Revival Jam reviving, Slifer activating his ability because every time a monster is summoned, his ability kicks off. The Mime Slave drawing 3 cards, rinse and repeat. It kept happening until he ran out of cards, basically. But at the same time, the effect only happens once per turn, for one. And secondly, like I said, you cannot take control of a monster that's already destroyed, that's in the process of reviving itself. You have to wait for it to revive itself first before you can take control of it. Plot armor, am I right? Plot fucking armor. Man, there's so many instances. Let me see if I can think of another one. Um, Another example. This isn't really cheating, but this is more so plot armor. Battle City Finals, right? Yugi versus Bakura, and I'm gonna probably talk about this one and one more, and that's gonna be it. We're gonna be in and out today. I'm not fucking around. We're about to be done. But like I said, Yugi versus Bakura. Bakura has his move. His methods is done. I mean, he was one turn away from winning. If y'all remember correctly, Bakura has the Destiny board. What they call it, the Destiny board deck. So basically, what the Destiny board is, you activate it, and the card is the letter F, right? And after every turn, during every standby phase, you summon another letter of that board. And once you get all 5 letters, which spell out final, you automatically win the duel. And I believe in the manga, it was spelled out death instead of final. But at the end of the day, Bakura had one more card to draw. But surprise, some motherfucking prize. Yugi draws Life of the Sky Dragon. Lightning strikes. Ishizu talking about, oh, the Pharaoh's drawing the card. Bakura's in shock. All the music starts happening. He summons his shit. Now I ain't gonna lie, that was probably the best anime drawing of Slifer being summoned. That like he wrapped around the blimp and the wings came out, and man, that shit was nice. I ain't gonna lie. But imagine had he not drawn that card. Imagine if he didn't take his cheating ways with that puzzle and basically top deck the exact card that he needs to get himself out of whatever situation he's in. Because Lord knows Yugi is good for that. But Masa gets summoned. Whoop de woo. Y'all know the rest. He attacks. He wins. Yeah, okay. Yugi wins low. Basically, that's basically the basis of a lot of these duels. Yugi wins low. The last one I want to talk about, I'm gonna skip over to the Waking of Dragons arc. At the very end, where Yugi and Kaiba dueled against Darts. At this point, Kaiba had already been eliminated. Darts had already brought out his Leviathan creature, and Yugi brings out his the legendary knight or something like that. It was Timaeus, Hermos, and something else. I forgot the other dragon, but they're all basically based on ancient civilization and these knights that saved the world or whatever. Leviathan's attack was supposed to be infinite. Now, we all know there's nothing more than infinite. Infinite isn't even a number to me. It's literally never ending. Yugi, on the other hand, he summons this legendary knight that's made out of the three knights that come from the three dragons. Timaeus, Kratos, or Cart something. I forgot the fucking name of the dragons, but it's three dragons that basically it's three knights that come from three dragons, and then those knights fuse together to make one legendary knight. This quote unquote legendary knight, I forgot exactly how it went, but I think he takes the attack of whatever the monster is that he's going against. I don't exactly remember how it went, but some kind of way, this motherfucker ends up with a monster that has infinity plus one attack. How is that even possible? Infinity plus one is still infinity. So, in my honest opinion, I feel like that should have been a draw. Because again, what is infinity plus one? That shit is not working. And of course, Yugi wins law. Dart should have probably won that duel too. And that top deck shit, like other than him doing that pretty much the whole series, that was the weirdest thing of me. That and the cheating. Now, like I said, most of the cheating came from Duelist Kingdom. We all know that. It wasn't as bad in Battle City because the rules were a little more clear, and they're honestly, I mean, they kind of take after the not really the TCG rules, but some close to it. It's more closer to the TCG rules than Battle City than Duelist Kingdom ever was, if we being honest. The only difference is, if I'm not mistaken, the amount of life points that you start with, which is 8,000 in TCG. They started with 4,000 in Battle City. Um, what's his name? The Big Five started with 8,000 when they faced Yugi and Joey at the towards the end of the Shadow Realm thing with Noah. Uh, that's another thing. All the fucking what do they call that shit? All of the abilities that Shinatsu's arc had was, I feel like it was at some point, I feel like Noah was making up the shit as he went along. Cause ain't no way in hell one deck master got like 20 different abilities. And then when Kaiba actually destroyed the fucking ship, it turns into Shinato, King of a Higher Plane. So how in the hell can you have Shinato's arc as your deck master that that just all of a sudden turns into another Shinato creature? In my opinion, I think Kaiba should have won that duel. Okay, Yugi came in, whatever. Yugi wins low. That's pretty much again the basis. That's gonna be our goddamn I go to. Yugi wins low. Kaiba should have won that duel though. I think Kaiba should have won that duel. I think he had it, honestly. I think the fact that when he activated, I think it was last turn, and his blue eyes and Shinato went up against each other, and Shinato was actually destroyed. So I personally feel like Kaiba should have won that. That's when Kaiba should have won that duel. But like I said, y'all, I'm not getting too detailed into these dudes. Follow my guy right here, TGS Anime on YouTube. Subscribe to his page if you want in-depth analysis on these dudes. I'm just touching on the outside looking in. We just in this bitch josing about it. You know what I'm saying? Um, And whoever people in the chat, feel free to chime in, whatever the case may be. I ain't gonna be out here too much longer. I didn't pretty much say what I want to say, but I'm gonna just talk about a couple of other dudes that I like that I feel like were questionable. Um, let me see. See, I don't want to go back to Duelist Kingdom because I've been on Duelist Kingdom's ass a lot. But damn, I'd be damned if all the cheating just all the cheating just happened there though. Like it was really bad over there. Let me see. Let me see. I could talk about the Yugi dude, Yugi versus Yami. For some kind of rig, some kind of way Yugi was able to destroy all three Egyptian god cards in one turn. I feel like that was kind of coincidental, if we being honest, very coincidental. Uh shit, I don't know. I can't really think of nothing else. Yeah, well shit. I guess that's gonna be it then. I'm gonna end it here. Where we at? 26 minutes yet? Fuck it. I'm gonna end it here, y'all. But I appreciate y'all for tuning in. This is a quick episode. I know y'all noticed. You probably noticed that I'm doing my episodes a little bit differently now. I'm not gonna be naming them. I'm not gonna be numbering them by episode anymore. I'm gonna be just uploading them as I go. I'm gonna start uploading more segments, smaller segments for those who want to just look at maybe one particular topic. The full streams are still going to go on YouTube, but they're also going to come with segments. My reels are going to be going on TikTok and Instagram, and that's pretty much it. I'm gonna try to start streaming more often, get more of these episodes out. Life and shit been kind of busy, so I'm gonna try my best to get some more episodes out. I'm gonna try to start streaming twice a week pretty soon. Maybe not next week, but probably the week after. I'm gonna probably start streaming twice a week instead of once a week. But y'all, in any case, that's all I got for today. Go back and watch Yu-Gi-Oh if you want. Come back to this and just be amazed at how much the motherfucker was cheating. Like he was really a cheater. But Yugi wins low.